Okay, Harris, let's not start a holy war here.
From Radio City in Florida, it's Johnny Sexton's World, featuring Johnny Sexton.
I offer him cigar. Well, he will come.
On today's show, Afghanistan. Joe Biden, and things Johnny missed on the last podcast that he promised you.
Oh, I gotta get on that internet. I'm late on everything.
Today's show is brought to you by Uber Armor. Need a ride to the airport? They can't get through those pesky checkpoints. Let Uber Armor do it for you. At $200 a half mile, we beat anyone's price. Uber Armor is a wholly owned subsidiary of Hunter Biden Industries. And now, because he can't afford the $2,000 to be extricated from the studio and sent back to America, Johnny Sexton.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
Thank you very much. Always ready to go with an action-packed show. This is Johnny Sexton's World. I always feel kind of funny when Jigs Jiggerson does that announcing on there, and I get on. My voice sounds so much different than his. He's got that deep, deep, deep voice. I appreciate you, Jigs. Listen, I am not one to complain, as you know. Unfortunately, I watched the Joe Biden extravaganza speech this afternoon on the state of Afghanistan and came to one conclusion. We need a new president. This guy is a total moron, unless he's being told by a total moron what to do. And I don't think Barack Obama's a total moron. I think he's cunning, but I don't think he's a moron, and I do think he's running the show. Why else would, at the start of that press conference, would Joe and his henchmen, and I say henchmen because that's what they looked like. They walked out all wearing black suits. Even Kamala Harris, black blazer. Joe was in blue to show you who was in charge. But everyone else was wearing black. 6 people, besides Joe, came out. Black suits, black masks, staring straight out, almost like to show you that they are in charge of everyone and everything. A show of force, so to speak, sort of like what the Muslims used to do when they would come out. They all walked out at the same time up to the podium, and then they squeezed the camera into good old Taliban Joe, who supposedly is running the show. And I say supposedly because, with all due respect, the guy's an asshole. And I do say that with all due respect. He is a moron. Really has no idea what is going on. So, first of all, my first problem with that whole shebang, or whatever you want to call that they did, was it was supposed to start at 1 o'clock. So for some reason, they make you wait until like 1:40, but almost like it's an NFL draft thing where you're waiting for them to just introduce a trade into the equation. I'm wondering, I'm saying, wow, there must be a big trade coming up. Because, when you watch the NFL draft, that's what happens. If someone takes 15 minutes on the clock, sometimes there's a trade being announced. And that's what I figured. But no, that's not the way. This is one of the most ridiculous administrations I've ever seen. I hate to say it. Not even one of the most. I've seen the Carter administration. I've seen the Obama administration. I thought the Carter administration was terrible. I mean, I was still young, but from what I saw and what I know in hindsight, he was a terrible president. Barack Obama, I saw firsthand as I got older. To me, terrible job in the White House. Terrible. He wanted you to think he was doing great, but just a terrible job. Joe Biden is doing an indescribable job of being president. The speech he gave today, and again, it was a Joe Biden speech. whatever they're telling him to say, I know that. But it was so self-serving. I didn't quite understand. He's still talking about the past and how good the administration has done in the past. Nothing about the killings, nothing about the Taliban having the perimeter around the airport. Nothing like that. Okay? No numbers are how many are still left inside. This is what people were probably looking for, but Joe wasn't going to give it to you. He said 179 or 169, I think he said, people got over the wall yesterday and were helped by the military. But he gave no verification, didn't go further into the story, nothing. And he left it at that. Okay? It took the idiots, and I do say idiots, and I use the term again with all due respect, at the Pentagon to do spin control on everything that Joe said. So now Joe says he got 169 people over the wall. So someone asked during, at the Pentagon briefing afterwards, hey, Joe says you got 169 people over the wall. So, how did that happen? And so the guy goes, well, they were very, very, very close to the wall. I mean, we didn't even have to go out and get them. They were real close to the wall, so the Marines just brought them over. And so do we know who they were or what happened with them? No, we have no idea. That's how this Pentagon is working. They don't know anything. I mean, you can not give out information, but don't make yourself look stupid. I mean, and this is what they're looking like. They're looking like the gang that couldn't shoot straight, and worse, they all look like a bunch of inept idiots. I mean, I look at Blinken. Blinken has no idea what he's doing. I mean, they think that the Taliban is going to put a peaceful government in there, all inclusive of women. They're nuts. I was watching NATO, the NATO speech today. This guy Joseph Berg, what the hell's his first name? I can't remember, but he's no good. He's no help either. He gets up there and goes, "Yes, we are demanding that the Taliban put in a peaceful government, and they want them all inclusive of women." They're all marching to the same beat. These idiots. They think the Taliban's going to listen to them. Well, what makes you trust them now? You couldn't trust them for the last 20 years. Don't you remember history? If anyone remembers history, we created the Taliban. We created them back right around 1990 or so, 1988 or so, when Reagan was still president. Remember the Iran-Contra deal? That created the Taliban. We started them. They, after about 2 or 3 years, turned their back on us and came back after us. That's the type of people these are, but this administration doesn't understand. And they're not answering any of the real questions. Biden says there's no question of our credibility around the world. Are you kidding me? Is he watching the same stuff I'm watching? I don't know. We have no credibility around the world. He says the allies say we are acting well. And then he goes back to talking about the bin Laden killing because it's one of his triumphs supposedly as vice president. But going back to bin Laden, I mean, he's always talking about the past. One of the things he did bring up, and I have to give him credit because he looked like not presidential, and I don't even think he did it on purpose. He said one of the reasons we have a problem with the Taliban now is that when President Trump was president, he promised them we were leaving on May 1st if they were peaceful for the last year and a half. That's why the Taliban was peaceful for the last year and a half, because that was the promise. You're kidding me, right? That only shows you that he negotiates or people trust him, the enemy trusts him more than they trust you. Or else they would have run roughshod over us while we were over there. But they didn't, because they thought Donald Trump was going to blow them off the map if they did something wrong. I mean, it may have been a Freudian slip when he said that. It was the stupidest thing he's ever said. He was trying to blame Trump for something, but he's actually giving Trump credit. That's the way I looked at it. No question, total moron. He's asleep at the wheel, asleep at the switch. I don't get it. One of the questions was asked, listen, the questions that he took, all right? Questions were all prepared because he was like so-and-so from EP, so-and-so. And he looked down while he was reading it off the friggin' sheet. So questions that he took were from AP, the Associated Press, Bloomberg News, ABC, PBS, and NPR. And even those questions were too hard for him. You know, they asked about what we're doing to get the Afghan people out of the air, you know, to the airport. He couldn't answer it. You know, he gave the old, you know, I do a little sidestep type of deal. I'm going to get, you know, we're doing everything we can to get them out. That, you know, that's all he said. He wants to bring international pressure, and he wants to make sure the Afghans treat women and girls right, he said. He also said there's no evidence that anyone carrying a U.S. passport is not getting passage through the gauntlet. This guy is totally gone, lost in some sort of different type of world. I mean, gone. He's just, I can't explain it. And he's got some kind of stupid fetish with this Taliban agreement. Well, they agreed to do this. They agreed to do that. We expect them to honor it. They don't honor anything. I really don't get it. Hey, this is Johnny Sexton's World. I'm Johnny Sexton. So if any of you guys remember Jerry Rafferty, he was a singer-songwriter, wrote the song Baker Street, a couple other big songs. He passed away in 2011, but he was working on an album back in 2006 when he passed away. It was called Rest in Blue. It's finally done, ready for release on September 3rd. Here is a single off it called Sign of the Times. I'm Johnny Sexton. This is Johnny Sexton's World.
Standing like a fool out in the rain, waiting for the sun to shine. Nothing's gonna stop this hurricane. You can't even read the sign. Living in your dream world all day long, trying to milk the sacred cow. You don't even know that something's wrong. You're living in the here and now. I see you coming, I don't need no warning. I see you coming, but I keep my life away. I go to sleep and I wake up yawning. I check the weather and start another day. Sitting on an island in the sun, looking at the big blue sky. You don't even know which way to run. You worry, but you don't know why. No, no, no. I see you coming, I don't need no warning. I see you coming, but I keep my life away. I go to sleep and I wake up yawning. I check the weather and start another day. Standing like a fool out in the rain, waiting for the sun to shine. Nothing's gonna stop this hurricane, and you can't even read this sign. Living in your dream world all day long, trying to milk the sacred cow. You don't even know that something's wrong. You're living in the here and now. No, 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 no.
It's Joe Biden's World, from the head of Joe Biden, starring Joe and Jill Biden. And now, Joe Biden's World.